Gidget House exists to support people through those what can be challenging times before and after the birth of children. We know that for 1 in 5 Australian women, they can experience perinatal depression and anxiety, and that figure's 1 in 10 for Australian dads. So it is incredibly important work that's happening right here in our community in Griffith. It is my great pleasure to introduce Arabella, who is the CEO of Gidget House, to speak with us this morning about the incredibly important work that is happening here.
Thanks so much. There we go. And the lights come back on. Yeah, it's the Gidget Foundation. The magic has begun. First of all, just a huge thank you to Renee and to Senator Wong, and also to Tracy for being here today to share in this very special announcement. But also I'd just like to thank Carmel and Justin. Carmel's the CEO of Ramsay Healthcare. Justin runs the hospital here at Greenslopes, and a huge thank you to Rachel as well, who have invited us very openly into their space today to share in this press conference. We are really delighted to be working with the Labor government to deliver currently 12 sites across Australia. The Gidget Foundation began 24 years ago through great tragedy. A beautiful girl whose nickname was Gidget, her real name is Louise, sadly took her own life after suffering from unrecognised postnatal depression and anxiety. Gidget was this beautiful girl. She was bright, she was vivacious, she was fun, she was dynamic, she was much like any other woman in this room here today. She had really longed for her baby, and finally, after a journey with IVF, she and her husband Dave were lucky enough to have their beautiful little girl Jasmine. Jasmine is now 23, but sadly Gidget is not with us. Gidget took her own life 7 months after Jasmine's birth, after suffering from unrecognised postnatal depression, and her family and her friends, her 2 sisters, they came together and they decided that what had happened to Gidget, they didn't want to happen to anyone else ever again. They wanted to ensure that there was education, that there was awareness, and most importantly, that we have the services like we have now here in the Australian community. They began that journey 24 years ago with the Gidget Foundation, and here we are today with 36 sites Australia-wide, supporting over 100,000 Australians that are diagnosed with perinatal depression and anxiety every single year. The funding so far to date from the Labor government has been exceptional in that it has completely invested in the delivery of so much of the work that we do. We are the largest and leading provider of perinatal mental health services in the country, and what that means is that we offer both face-to-face and telehealth services to mums and dads alike who might be suffering through the perinatal period from conception to 1 year postpartum. Those services are supported by an incredible workforce. We have 180 clinicians Australia-wide who deliver these services, and most importantly, the funding has also allowed us to invest and develop a graduate certificate in perinatal mental health, which is a diploma that didn't exist before and now exists thanks to this support. We've been able to bring another 60 people into the workforce to support this particular initiative, and we know that it's significant because for every dollar that is invested in the Gidget Foundation, there will be a return of $3.70 to the Australian economy, which is significant in terms of how we can save money on emergency services, presenteeism, absenteeism and so on, to ensure that we have the best possible outcomes for Australian families. We know that PNDA costs Australia $877 million every single year, and the Gidget Foundation is here to make a difference. We are so delighted to have Tracy with us, who will be able to answer some questions later on for you in relation to her own experience of perinatal mental ill health and going through our services, the telehealth version of which is called Start Talking. Tracy's from the Gold Coast, and actually she went through the telehealth services because at that time we didn't have a physical site on the Gold Coast. But thanks to the funding that was announced, at the last election, we now have a Gidget house in Burleigh Heads there, so people like Tracy can go and get face-to-face support. Thank you very much, Senator. Thank you, Renee. Delighted to be here and happy to take questions later. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Arabella, for that very eloquent introduction, and thank you for the work you do. Can I start by just thanking Renee? She's such a fantastic candidate for the seat of Griffith, and a mum who understands the importance of this sort of support, but someone who's so deeply connected to community and so authentic in her representation of and her advocacy for community. It's always a pleasure to campaign with you. And Arabella, can I thank you so much for the work you do? And that was a very beautiful articulation of the imperative of the foundation, but also the story behind it. And Tracy, it's really been very moving to have you share your story. I appreciate it, genuinely. We know that being a new parent is one of the most extraordinary, wonderful blessings you can have, but we also know it can be one of the hardest periods in your life. And that perinatal period from a child's birth, from pregnancy to the first birthday, it's a time of enormous change. It's a time of physical change, of economic change, of emotional change, and your life changes completely. And we know, as Arabella said, 1 in 5 women, 1 in 5 women and up to 1 in 10 men experience anxiety or depression during this period. It can be a pretty chaotic period, and often asking for help can be difficult. Sometimes people don't even think of it. They're in denial themselves, I think, as you described, but also they don't know where to go. Now, what you've seen over the last 3 years from our government, from Prime Minister Albanese, from Minister Mark Butler, and the whole of the government, is a real focus on trying to improve health outcomes and investment in health across the board. So whether it's in bulk billing, the increases there, whether it's in public hospital funding, where you've seen the increases there, the women's health policy, or the mental health policy which was announced, or in the announcement I'm about to make. These are all about trying to look at all the different ways in which we can improve the experience of, the support for and the outcomes for Australians when it comes to their health. So today I'm very proud to announce that a re-elected Albanese Labor government will invest $16.7 million to establish 8 additional perinatal mental health centres across this country. Centres which will be run by the wonderful Gidget Foundation Australia, which is such a trusted not-for-profit entity with a long history of supporting families. The centres will deliver free, personalised mental health support to thousands of new and expectant parents. Now, as Arabella referenced, we supported a number of these centres before the last election. I think 12 have been rolled out, that's right. So 12 are funded, 6 currently operating, 6 on track to open within the next year or so. We want to expand that national network to 20. And my hope is, especially after listening to the stories today, that this investment will mean many more Australian parents who need help at such an important time in their life get it, that they get it. So thank you to you for the work you do. Tracy, if you want to add anything, I'm very happy for you to do so. Otherwise, I think we'll go to questions on the announcement, and after that I'll go to questions for the day. Do you want to say anything? Or
would like me to?
if you want to.
Yeah, why not?
Thank you. Look, I am a mum of 3 children. I think I'm the perfect example of perinatal mental health just not discriminating. It really just does can affect anyone, and what should be the most wonderful time of our lives often for so many of us is not. And I was in a really dark place and I was really struggling, and then when my GP referred me to the Gidget Foundation, that turned my life around and had a huge impact on my motherhood journey and my family. And yes, without the Gidget Foundation and the specialist care that I'd received, I don't like to think of how much further I would have struggled. So the support and the care that they provide has been, life-changing. Yeah.
Thanks, Tracy. That sounds wonderful. Okay, can we do any questions on the announcement?
Where will the new centres be built?
Look, they will. That will be resolved through the same process as we utilised for the first 12. So that is, I think, you do a needs analysis, don't you, with the with primary health networks and state and territory governments. So I think the last 12. Well, you could probably speak to it better, actually.
Well, no, look, happy to just do a chime-in version. So the next 8 sites will be done based on a needs analysis. We are hoping for at least one in every state and territory, which will build on the 12 that we have now. There is significant need right across the country in many pockets. So we're excited to bring these 8 and hopeful actually to continue the expansion as well, because that's going to be really critical to make sure that we do look after as many Australians as possible.
Do you find there is more of a gap in regional and remote areas?
Look, we do. We have around 50% of our sites are in regional and rural areas, which is significantly different to many other healthcare services. That's been a really important part of what we do. We recognised that, ensuring that families in the bush, in the regions and in the rural areas have that support is key to thriving townships, to thriving families, and to ensuring that those families have the support that they need locally. We also know that quite often it can be difficult, for example, if you are in an environment where the local clinician is your brother-in-law's sister's uncle type scenario or whatever it might be. That's probably a far stretch, but you know where I'm coming from. And so telehealth has also been a really important mode of care for us as well, and quite often we will offer a blended approach for that reason.
Anything more on this announcement? No? All right, before we go to questions of the day, can I please thank Greenslopes Private and Ramsay Healthcare for hosting us and for the work you do and for hosting the Gidget Foundation here. Really appreciate it. You might want to sit down unless you want to take other questions.
Thank you.
Hi.
In Australia and Indonesia, has Indonesia made it clear that Russian planes will not only not be based in their country, but that they also won't be rotated through?
Well, look, can I start by talking a little bit about what happened yesterday. I mean, it tells you a lot about Mr. Dutton. It tells you a lot about our government. You know, Mr. Dutton saw a headline and he didn't wait for the facts. I mean, it's not the sort of man you want to be the Prime Minister of the country. He's simply, as I said this morning, too aggro and too reckless to be the Prime Minister of Australia. Now, we know that Indonesia and Russia have had a relationship for a very long time. I think we go back to the time of Menzies. So this is not new. But what is important is how we dealt with this. And we dealt with this by making sure we engaged, as we do, with the Foreign Minister, the Defence Minister, and we got confirmation that there is no intention for there to be a Russian aircraft base or whatever was reported in Papua.
Have you had conversations with your Indonesian counterpart, like Richard Miles has with the Defence Minister, to clarify whether this request was lodged by Russia and at what level?
Well, look, yes, I have been in regular contact with Foreign Minister Sugiono. And this is the point that Peter Dutton fails to recognise. You know, we have a lot of contact. We have engagement with Indonesia at a personal level. He was here recently in Australia, and he and I have engaged on this issue. I'm not going to canvass what we knew or know about Russia's activity through the media. I would say it is common knowledge and a fact of history that Indonesia and Russia have a relationship. What we have to focus on is our own relationship with Indonesia, and that's what we've done. So the first visit, bilateral visit by the Prime Minister to Indonesia, my engagement and the Deputy Prime Minister's engagement, as well as engagement through many other avenues, for example, the Southeast Asian Economic Strategy that we are engaged in. Indonesia is a key part of that. We've had very high-profile visits and delegations. And, you know, Mr Dutton, he gave a speech a couple of weeks before the election, which was billed as his great foreign policy speech. He did not mention Indonesia. Did not mention Indonesia. And now he wants you to believe he's up to this job. But the most concerning thing for me is that he said that President Prabowo had made a statement. That was not true. And if you looked at his press conference before, he wasn't prepared to fess up. That's what happened. He knows he's made a mistake, but he's not prepared to admit it.
Did the Australian government know about this Russian request before the James report was published?
I refer to my earlier answer. It's not responsible for me to canvass what Australia knows about Russia's activities through the media. I would say to you two things. Russia is active in our region. Russia has a long-standing relationship with countries of the region, including Indonesia. What we should focus on is our relationship, the work that we do. I would make this point. We are working with Indonesia across so many domains, whether that's economic, diplomatic, or defence. And the Deputy Prime Minister, Mr Miles, signed with Indonesia the first defence cooperation agreement with them last year.
Does this development concern you?
I am very clear, and the government is very clear, that Australia's security and sovereignty and stability, Australia's security and stability lies in our region. You would have heard me speak about region, relationships and rules. That is the way we think about how we assure Australia's interests in the context of foreign policy. Our region, our relationships and our rules. That is why we have spent so much time working in our region. Like in the first year as Foreign Minister, I visited every member of ASEAN. I visited every member, that's Association of Southeast Asian Nations. I visited every member of the Pacific Islands Forum. Mr Dutton is the one who joked about water lapping at the door. That's what people remember. Okay, thank you.